Friday, we learned that Paul had a message, his purpose, his ministry, and that was to proclaim, to warn, and to teach. The goal was that all Christians would become mature in Christ. We learn about this in Colossians 1:24 through 29. Now we're in Colossians 2, and Paul is working to preach, to write, to apply to other Christians in Colossae, explaining to them his concern for all of them. And there's some that he hadn't met, and it doesn't matter. He cares about them also. He was talking about his difficulties, his struggles, some of them that he hadn't even met face to face. He wanted to patiently benefit them and others, like those in Laodicea also, who he had not even met yet. For I want you to know how great a struggle I have for you and for those at Laodicea, and for all who have not seen me face to face. It didn't matter if Paul had met those believers yet. He had a heart full of love for them, those who had been converted to Christ from Epaphras when he was there preaching to them before. We read about this in Colossians 1:3 through 8. These Christians followed Paul's good example. And we should also have great concern for believers in other places, especially when our church sends missionaries out to different places and want to help them along the way. We should be greatly concerned for those people, as Paul was for the people in Colossae and Laodicea and other places too. We need to copy Paul. Be imitators of me as I am of Christ. The word empathy, what does that mean? It means we fully understand what a person's going through, their situation. And how do we have empathy? Well, we experience the same things ourselves. We have genuine concern for that person. Paul, he had real concern for the other Christians also. He was willing to lay down his life for them. Was he concerned about everything in himself? No, he would give it all up. He was concerned about the believers there. And he's leading us too to be ready to sacrifice our life. Paul struggled. He went on patiently wanting to benefit the believers there in Colossae. Perhaps sometimes we struggle with prayer and preaching, teaching, writing. So it's important that we concern ourselves that our hearts are for them, that their hearts may be encouraged, being knit together in love, to reach all the riches of full assurance of understanding and the knowledge of God's mystery, which is Christ. Paul's goal? It was to encourage the Colossians, to have their hearts knit together in love, to reach all the riches of full assurance, of understanding, and the knowledge of God's mystery, which is Christ. Unity together in love. And the reason that we love shows that two things. One, that we see love, and secondly, that we have the assurance of salvation. We know it in our hearts. We're saved. With that assurance, we know that we depend on true love for each other. Not, oh yeah, I need to do that, but real love. George Eliot, he was a poet, and he wrote The Spanish Gypsy. It's about a woman. Now, she's not a Christian, but what he said goes along with this. "'Tis what I love determines how I love." That's true. If you don't love God, then you love yourself. If you don't love Christ and are Christ-centered, then you love yourself. You need a heart of love that is united with other Christians. If you love other people, you will know you are united to God. "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another." Two things. One is concern, and the second is love. Not, oh, I love you. It's action we're talking about. There's action in love. We need to show our love. Encourage others. They need that, just as we do. Give money, tithe to your church. Help people to spread the gospel, or whatever needs that others have. Love them with your money, with what you do. There's so many different ways that we can show our love. We can see clearly that we have a heart of love for other believers and that we know God.